Hey. Okay, so welcome to Madness and Mayhem episode 2, and I really hope you can all hear me. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. Oh, you definitely can. Okay, so welcome to Madness and Mayhem episode 2. How do I? Really hope you can all hear me. Oh shoot. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. I don't know what's going on. Like, why? Oh, shoot. Hold on. Oh, shoot. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Like, why? Oh, shoot. Hold on. Okay. No. Oh, no. I don't know what's... Why is it weird? Hold on. Okay. No. Oh, I don't know what to do. Why is it weird? Hold on. Hello? Okay, so that stopped the weirdness. Okay, so I had gone, I think I figured out what was going on. So I finally figured out how to go live on Telegram, but it seems that you can, like, it plays the stream while I'm streaming, so then I could hear me. Like, why would you want that, Telegram? Why would you want that? That's just fucking weird. Okay, so without further ado, we are in episode 2 of Mayhem and Madness, but at least I got confirmation that I can be heard today, so that's always useful. Okay, so episode 2 of Madness and Mayhem. So we've been kind of catching up on a few things. Well, I always watch visuals when I am... I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why the screen's going really weird. I always watch like documentaries or stuff like that while I'm kind of cleaning and sorting the dog's food out and all of that kind of jazz. Well, that, or I watch, random shit on Amazon Prime. So I have to do like a bit of both. Sometimes you just need to watch crap. But I was watching Tor's Bloodline JFK, so I finally finished that. But I also was watching Michael Francese, who's ex-Columbo crime family. Pretty sure it's Columbo crime family. I really rate him. I really like him. So his stuff's pretty good. I like it when he's talking about his own experiences. I'm not that bothered about the people he's interviewing. I'm more interested in his own experiences, because he's got some good little insights. So anyway, I was watching his little documentary, and he said something that just really kind of lit a little light bulb. So for those of you who've kind of been in my online sphere for a while will know. So if we go all the way back to J6, right? I did a live stream. We watched it live together. It was so much fun. I got booted from a few social media channels for doing it. And I couldn't understand it at the time why I was getting booted. And as soon as we'd finished the live stream, then I kind of figured out that, all of a sudden everybody was saying the Capitol had been breached and everybody. And I was just like, well, how is everybody already there? Because he's literally only just stopped talking, right? What's going on? So straight away, anybody who was kind of watching the live streams and or kind of obviously they're live, was really confused by the fact that all of Trump's supporters had marched on the Capitol and raided, right? Because it was all supposed to have been done after he'd finished talking. And yet I was getting messages from people being like, oh my God, it's been raided. I was like, well, how is it done afterwards when he's literally just finished like a second ago? Does he have like a teleporter? Anyway, at the time, for those of you who are kind of watching it with me, at the time I was saying, how weird is it that the BBC's here, all of these like media institutions are here, the ones who just completely ignore him and ridicule him were all there, right? So right at J6 we kind of saw all of that stuff where we had like huge press presence, and it was kind of weird. So we had the exact same thing in Philly, in the kind of that assassination attempt. I was about to say most recent, but there's been other ones, right, since. So that very high profile assassination attempt, the first thing I said to everybody who was kind of saying it was bullshit was like, well, why were the BBC there? Why were the mainstream media at his rally when they're never at any rallies? Right? Why had he had Secret Service being reduced specifically just before that one, right? So why had all of those things been put in place to actually make it more likely the assassination attempt was going to kind of happen? And so when I was watching Michael Franzese, what he said was the Secret Service was minimal on JFK's assassination. It wasn't usually that kind of tiny. And I've watched a few documentaries on JFK's assassination, and it never really clicked to me. And it clicked then, right? And he was saying, you know, and it was kind of the same at Trump's. And I was like, oh yeah, but also the media was there, right? So that's the key thing about with regards to just repeating, right? So we've got JFK's and Trump's assassination attempts are mirror images, and not necessarily in how they did it. Obviously, with regards to there wasn't just one shooter, like that was the same. The fact that the security services were shitty, exactly the same. The fact that it was being covered by every single fucking angle by mainstream media, exactly the same, right? So it was, I couldn't, once I started thinking about it, I was like, oh my God, they literally rinse and repeat. And so this is a really good way to figure out if stuff that's happening is one, organic. So, you know, we talk about the farmers' protest, and I said straight off, that is not organic, that is not real, as in it's not, I mean, it's really happening, but it's not kind of like good people doing it. It was really obvious straight away that it was shill designed to trap the farmers into this perception that something was going to happen, right? And so the fact they had that giant rally and we had celebrities there, right? We had you know, people all over, celebrities over social media who are who are pro-vaccine, pro you've killed your granny and you deserve to be locked up. All of these people are all of a sudden they're awake and part of the, like, it's all about controlling the narrative. So I just want you to think about anything that you're seeing, right? Anything that you're seeing, if it's being covered by mainstream media, it's always a limited hangout, for one. If it's something we're like, oh, it's finally, information's finally getting through, is they will need to control the narrative. But so when you see MSN, like at any rally or any big event, what you should do is you should scarper, right? And to be fair, Trump should do the same. So what did we have? We've had the reform event recently, and it was interrupted, and like all of this shit is just, it's all bullshit, right? But if they're going to assassinate someone, then they're just going to use the same playbook, right? So it causes mass trauma because they're energy harvesting psychopaths, right? So this is why, you know, the Romans had the gladiators and the Roman games, is why we have the football, you know, and we have the tribalness. It's all about the energy. It's all about division. It's all about energy. It's all about that bullshit. But obviously to cause mass trauma by repeating things over and over and over and over again. And while, you know, by the grace of God, Trump was not murdered, we can see how they perpetually traumatize people with what they did with 9/11 and still do now. Right, still do now, September the 11th, what they did J6 over and over and over again. It was like literally on every single TV channel, even in the UK, live, Capitol being like taken over by psycho Trump supporters, right? And what they wanted to happen at Trump's assassination attempt is, obviously they wanted him dead, but they also wanted a stampede, they wanted mass panic, they wanted you know, the world to be just in shock, horror, fear, all of that stuff. So if you're seeing celebrities promoting something, I'd stay away from it. And I've been saying this for ages. I'd stay away from it. If you're seeing on mainstream TV and even kind of controlled opposition, kind of pushing up, they all say the same thing, right? So you've probably seen that you've probably seen that thing where it's like all the American MSN are saying the exact same thing across all the different channels. Like, that's what the controlled opposition do as well, right? That every single one is saying the exact same thing. But I highly recommend like Michael Francese. I really rate him, and I know he did some very bad stuff. I know he did, but I believe in redemption, and it's quite interesting that, you know, me, non-Christian, believes in forgiveness and believes in redemption and believes that we all have our own path to follow, and that will teach us to love, and that was his path, right? There always has to be. Some people will find love and forgiveness because they're a victim, and others will find love and forgiveness because they are a perpetrator, right? We live in a dualistic universe, and I'm not saying either path is correct, to be fair. I'm not saying either path is correct at all, but you can't. It's in order for me, like, you talk about my own personal journey, right? In order for me to wake up to everything, like, I had a horrific childhood. So in order for me to have that horrific childhood, there would have been other people who were being the horrific people, right? If they hadn't, if I hadn't have experienced those things, I would be vaxxed now, because my sisters and a brother didn't experience the same, and they're all vaxxed up. Right. So in order for us to be awake, we've probably been a victim, and for other people, they've had to be the perpetrator, right? I believe in it's a contract that we decide before we come back that what we need to put in our way in order for us to wake up, to tune into love, right? That's I don't believe in religions, but that's what I believe in. That's where I kind of come from with this. So I accept that we're all human and we can all be good and bad, depending on our situation, and we all have the choice to choose good, right? And we should love people. We should just love people, and when you love people, like, good shit happens. Okay, so it was just the fact that I wanted to quickly touch on the fact that the JFK and Trump assassinations has got far more in common than just low Secret Service. Like, the media are key. And also because a lot of media personnel are actually, they're spies, because they're allowed to go places that non-spies, like, and so they're allowed to go places that other people can't, right? They got press passes to war zones, and so perfect spies. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to just really touch on today with me, PsyOps, and this is an interesting one, and again, it's an out of date one. It's the one from a while ago, but then I've got kind of a kind of current-ish one. So I was watching, so YouTube kind of like went from finishing Michael Francese to starting on Michael Jackson's bodyguard. One of Michael Jackson's bodyguards, who was actually his friend, I'm only like a bit of the way through this, was talking about what life was like, and he's a martial arts expert, and he's from like the UK, and it's a really random story. So I've been kind of dipping my toes in and out of the whole Michael Jackson story for a while. Being an 80s kid who grew up with him, and he seemed like an amazing person, and then he died, and then he was supposedly a pedophile, and then you see how everything's manipulated, and you start to think, well, actually, all the pedophiles it gets ignored. And then, Macaulay Culkin always said that he never did anything bad, like, ever. And he used to go to his house to feel safe. Every single person who accused him of pedophilia took money, and then they all came out and admitted that they'd lied afterwards. So there's lots of controversy around that. But actually, once I started digging into conspiracy theories, as many of you have done, I uncovered the video of not long before he died talking about how he was going to take down Sony. And what we know now is, the music industry, and I say what we know now, what we have confirmation of now is how the music industry is just another cabal arm, right? So we have Diddy is an Epstein and Jay-Z is an Epstein, and how they blackmail for the CIA, right? Michael Jackson was going to out Sony, and same as Prince got for his little war on Sony. But what it was, and I kind of knew this, but I just forgot, right? So the whole Uri Geller and Michael Jackson being friends thing, right? And I always thought it was weird back then, but it sparked in my mind, like, holy shit. There's some really strange timings going on here, and you're going to you're gonna probably have a little holy shit moment as well, right? So I had to go and double check some things, so I've got exact dates, right? But as soon as he was saying, so the bodyguard was kind of talking about how he found out Michael had died, right? And he said, oh yeah, Uri Geller was on the phone because supposedly, according to the bodyguard, him and Uri Geller were friends first, and then because they both liked martial arts, and it was Uri Geller who introduced him to Michael, and that's how it all kind of worked. So obviously my brain was just like, and the names he dropped, Mohammed Al-Fayed and all of these, I'm just like, I don't think I trust you, little bodyguard man. Anyway, so he was saying that Uri Geller called him and said, Michael's dead. And I'd forgotten until that point that it was Uri and the doctor who was with Michael when he passed. And so for those of you who don't know, Uri Geller is a Mossad agent, right? And we had this confirmed. So when I was looking into all the Stardate documents, and if you're on my Telegram, good luck finding all this shit, because as soon as I find stuff, I drop it and we have conversations. So this must have been 3.5 years ago where we had the whole proper conversation about Stargate and Grill Flame. Actually, it's the Grill Flame documents, not the Stargate documents. So but I'm pretty sure if you go to CIA FOI, you can just type in Uri Geller and you'll find some of the documents. Anyway, so while I was looking into Grill Flame stuff and remote viewing, and they were actually trying to get people to remote view, right? So Uri Geller went and he was trying to be a remote viewer, and one of the documents is literally saying we can't have this guy because he's a Mossad agent, right? So it's confirmed in the CIA documents that Uri Geller is a Mossad agent. So yes, he's really good at all of this psychic stuff, but he's an Israeli spy, so we can't have him, which is why he never got kind of taken up for the job, right? So, but in the UK, we kind of know him for bending spoons, and one of the kind of like football cups, he made everybody put their hands on balls, and everyone was supposed to think good thoughts. I mean, what I know now, I think the thing is there were more disbelievers than believers, right? What I know now is obviously he was actually teaching people a lot of the kind of psychic spy tricks because it was around that time. So, but anyway, so the key thing is that we have confirmation. Uri Geller, a Mossad agent, was with Michael Jackson when he died, right? And the doctor was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, but they actually initially thought it was murder, right? And so, now it's kind of been like an accident. But initially it was murder. The doctor murdered him, and we have Uri Geller there. And so while I was listening, what went through my head was, well, wait a minute, Uri Geller is like a Mossad agent. That's strange that he was like besties with Michael. And then I was like, wait a minute, he died in 2009. There was a Mossad agent who was released from prison in 2009 who was heavily involved in blackmail and paedophilia and trafficking with elites, many of them like famous celebrities and musical artists and all of those things. So it just kind of, my head was like, oh, that's interesting, because that's when Epstein was released properly from prison, right? 2009. Here's where it gets really fucking dodgy, right? So Michael Jackson was killed on June the 25th, 2009. Epstein was released from prison the very next day. The very next day, the Mossad, and he's probably CIA and MI6 as well anyway, right, Epstein. The very next day, Jeffrey Epstein was released from prison and was allowed to resume all of his dodgy fucking tactics. That just, I was like, how has nobody kind of noticed those fucking dates? And I've never seen those dates put together, ever, right? Ever. Because that's why I had to go double check. So we had a Mossad agent there. Michael Jackson was killed, and he was gunning for the music industry, gunning for the pedophiles, gunning to bring down the cabal. We have Epstein Mossad agent now being allowed back onto the streets. Everything he'd done was being washed under the carpet. Who did he go and see very soon after release? Prince Andrew, right? Epstein, right? That's because it was all over the British papers that he was, Prince Andrew shouldn't have seen him. He's only just been released from prison. Of course he knew, the Secret Service knew, all of this stuff, right? So dodgy as fuck. And you have to remember that Diddy's an Epstein, right? So Diddy's an Epstein. I mean, who killed Michael Jackson? The CIA or Mossad? I mean, it's both the same people, really, because like Israel is the 51st state. But was Michael Jackson actually about to bring down far more than he realized? Was he consistently being handled by Uri Geller, who, Mossad agent? And one of the other things the bodyguard said, because obviously Michael did some very strange stuff, right? And he was like hanging babies like out of windows, did some very strange things. So the bodyguard was saying that he was like out of his mind on drugs when he was doing all of these strange stuff. So we had the doctor who was perpetually drugging him. And then we have a Mossad spy controlling him and handling him. So we literally have Michael Jackson being MK Ultra'd in front of everybody, and nobody fucking noticed what was going on. Like, nobody noticed. So that makes me really sad. But we didn't know. Okay. So the third thing I wanted to speak to, and it kind of follows on from the whole Mossad, Diddy Epstein. Well, so Andrew Tate, who is scum of the earth, right? It's absolute scum of the earth, who is suing, people, survivors of abuse and all of that sort of shit. He's just like psychologically and physiologically abusing people, and people are too stupid to see. So it's quite interesting that he used to brand people the same as Nixium used to brand. It kind of seems like that people aren't just cattle, right? But we have the new age trafficking. We have the dickhead trafficking. We have all of these different branches. We have Diddy in the music industry. So every single potential thread of society will have its Epsteins, right? Epstein's not the only one. The multiple, and we see it in the UK in social services. There are, back with the whole grooming ground, rape gang scandals. Social services were well aware that these kids from care were being taken by the gangs and being abused and and trafficked. Similarly, when we go a little bit further back in time, and we've got like the Elm Guest House, the social services were well aware that Jimmy Savile and people like that used to come along and like pick up these kids that from the foster homes and take them away, and some of them would never come back. So we've got different members of society throughout society who are involved in this. And we've also got school teachers, head teachers, you know, there's tunnels under the ground, there's armed forces, and there's no portion of society where this isn't going on, right? So and I know that's a really horrible thing to think about, but we have to acknowledge it, because if we don't, this is why kids keep getting trafficked, abused, raped, murdered, snatched. All of that stuff is happening because people believe it's just one teeny tiny thread, right? So I don't know what was going on. There was some kind of, I don't know, shill fighting going on. I don't know, Candace Owen and this other person. I don't even know who this guy is. Something to do with Joe Rogan. I don't know. Basically, they've been found out for more lying, and everyone's like, oh my god, I really love those people. And so whoever's thread it was on Twitter this morning, X, sorry Elon, X this morning, was kind of going, oh my gosh, I can't believe so and so was, I don't know, I don't even know this person's name, right? I mean, I don't care enough. But then somebody was talking about like, oh yeah, I stopped watching Candace Owen as well because she started saying really weird stuff. And I was just like, well, I mean, she did marry her MI6 handler. She's CAA, literal central casting. But okay, let's let's follow what she's saying. And anyway, so I was kind of carrying down and kind of just giving some truth bombs to everybody who was kind of like, oh my god, don't say that, she's lovely, and all that kind of bullshit. And there was a really teeny tiny little snippet that was really interesting, that was saying about Candace's husband visiting the Tates. And she's addressed this. So supposedly she's addressed this on her podcast. Their husband visited the Tates multiple times. A lot of it was before they were married. And then 3 times it was afterwards when she's interviewed them, right? And I was like, well, that's interesting, because I know her husband is an MI6 handler. So why would MI6 be interested in the Tates? Right? So are the Tates, this is my supposition, the Tates are MI6's Epstein. The MI6's MI6's Nixium. And actually, as I think about Nixium, which had, I mean, it had the Bromphans. So yes, you think CIA, but also Richard Branson was heavily involved. So MI6, but we have to remember that MI6 and the CIA and MI5, they're all the same agency because MI6 trained them. They're all the same fucking agency. And whether MI6 is in control or the CIA is controlled, depending on whoever's got the biggest budget at the time and whoever the cabal decides they want to be in control, right? But exactly the same agency. But it just was really nice to kind of figure out this morning. Obviously, Romania is really important with regards to child trafficking because it's on the border of the Ukraine, right? And the Ukraine is rife. In 2007, the number of children being trafficked went up by like 300%. Not even like a teeny tiny amount, 300% in 2017. And so then, Romania is just on the border. And the other things that kind of goes on in the Ukraine is organ harvesting. And we literally had some woman being stopped at Poland's border with 56 organs who came from the Ukraine, right? So this isn't like, and this isn't conspiracy theory, right? This is like actual facts of what's going on in the Ukraine and Romania. So it was just kind of, that's what I'm going to float out there. And it kind of makes you think about all of the stuff with the Tates in new eyes, right? I mean, obviously they're handled like nobody gets to be a prolific, trafficker unless they've got the backing of the cabal. Yeah, so they obviously set up with regards to I still can't figure out why they made them go Muslim. I can't figure that out yet. But we'll I mean, at some point, maybe it's just to control the rest of the side of the narrative. But the thing is, the actual proper Muslims probably don't follow Andrew Tate. It doesn't make sense to have people converting to Islam. Maybe they just couldn't get enough people on the boats. But you can't start a civil war if everybody is the same religion, right? And that's always kind of niggled at me. Is thanks, It is a good question. So why did so now that we know, right? So now that we know the Tates are MI6, because otherwise, why would Candace's Owen's husband be there? Right? Because he's MI6. Why would they have him convert to being a Muslim? And the timing is strange because it kind of all happened a bit before all the shit started to come out about what he was doing. So he did all the shit while he was supposed to be a Christian. But they want civil war. So this is why it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. But we'll figure out. We'll figure it out. There'll be a tidbit. So keep your eyes. Maybe, I mean, I never knew who these people were because I just don't follow people. I mean, I never have. I've never been that bothered by other people. People who are my friends, I'm all in, right? Anybody outside of that, I just don't give a shit what's going on in that person's life, right? I've got too much of my own life stuff to deal with, and everybody does. I would much rather like build a little group of people who I enjoy having conversations with than be staring at people and fawning over their lives, right? This whole concept of celebrity is just alien to me, and it's something that I just has always thought is ludicrous. If you want to do something, do it. Don't spend your life watching somebody else do it. But I think maybe that's it. But I will keep my eyes peeled. Maybe I'll do a bit of Tate digging. Going to be interesting. Be interesting to figure out if anybody can figure out why. I mean, obviously, there's the whole you can have multiple wives, but he doesn't want wives. They have the concept of anybody who's not Muslim is kind of fair game for rape and abuse and torture. And you know, in heavy Muslim countries, it's little boys that they rape, right? Because you can't rape a little Muslim girl, which is why they have the hijab, right? So it identifies whether you're Muslim or not. That's the real reason, is to make sure that you know who you can rape and who you can't, right? Who can be your slave. Yeah, it's a really strange thing. There will be a reason. But I mean, he had a big following, right? I mean, I never even heard. I mean, I just don't. He's a dick, so that's probably why I never heard of him. But yeah, so I think that is a question for all of us to ponder. Why did MI6 have Andrew Tate? Did his brother go Muslim as well, or just him? I don't know. He's like a short, like he's a slimy, smarmy guy. Like I don't even understand the appeal. Like brainwashing, right? So there we go. Okay, so leave it like that. So they were just kind of like the three kind of like PsyOps and things to just kind of have percolating in your mind. We've still got kind of civil wars being ramped up by Sir Keir Starmer, who decided to say, you know, Happy Eid Mubarak, not, you know, Lent or Mother's Day yesterday. So obviously that sent everybody into a little bit of stress because people can't see when they're being, you know, poked into civil war, but we just have to leave people to it. So all of that same shit from last week still occurring, as it will do. But yeah, so just the whole Michael Jackson being dead. Night View, thank you for joining. Michael Jackson being killed the day before Epsteine was released is very, very interesting. I'm still yet to dive into Grok's kind of JFK stuff. But it is interesting that the people who funded the assassination is not just the mobsters, but the mobsters carried it out, and the people who ended up funding it is obviously like the banking cartel, so the Rothschilds, all of the same names who are the same people who funded, Hitler in World War III. So they're just so potentially can backtrack and see that they're the same people funding the Trump assassinations. Or maybe it's new gods. Who knows? Okay, so that's the first half of the show done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed it. And the second half, ooh, this is a fun bit. So how you can turn your body into a 12-minute antidepressant machine, right? How you can turn your body into an antidepressant machine in 12 minutes. So what we're going to talk about today with how you can stay happy and healthy is the something that people really don't do when they're trying to be happy, right? Is whenever I say to my clients, okay, you got to start doing some exercise, right? It's the eye roll, it's the groan, and oh my God. I mean, people don't do it to get into sexy looking clothes. They're not going to do it because they think it just the idea that you doing exercise makes you mentally well. I mean, it's really annoying because it started to be like kind of more mainstream now, but people don't get it, right? People don't tell you why. So I'm going to go into some whys with you. So key thing to understand, the more fat that you have, the less mentally healthy you are, right? And there's lots of statistics that show that. So it's not just because you're overweight, you look in the mirror and you hate yourself. It's not even to do with that. It's to do with our biology and our chemistry and the water content and how effective our cells are at replicating and healing and producing the hormones that we need to feel good, right? So it's actually on a biological and chemical level that the higher fat percentage you have in your body, the lower your mental wellness is. There's a correlation between the two. I've lost my words because I have to have words for this one because otherwise I go way off track. And then I'll butcher the science as well, because butcher the science is I'll butcher the results of the experiments. Okay, so when we move, right? When we move, our body does some really awesome stuff, right? I mean, obviously, like moving is pretty awesome, but below the surface, some really cool stuff is going on. So I'm just trying to find the stuff. Okay, so whenever we get stressed out, right, your body has, it will release cortisol. But it releases cortisol after it releases like adrenaline and adrenaline and epinephrine. It's the same thing depending on whether you're UK or USA, right? But so it will release your hormone that kind of gets you like super hyper on alert, and then you get cortisol, which kind of just extends it, right? So cortisol kicks in about 90 seconds, 2 minutes after the initial stress response. And if you've got a high fat percentage, your body more slowly turns off the cortisol. So it more slowly actually gets it out of your bloodstream, gets it out of your system, and enables you to revert back to the kind of happy, healthy state. Which is why you're more likely to be stressed if you're overweight. And again, I mean, so somebody with a high fat percentage in their body and somebody with an optimal fat percentage could have the exact same experiences, exact same life experiences, and the person with the higher fat percentage will be more unwell on the mental health scales and will be less able to cope just in general, but also will have be less able to remove cortisol from their system, right? So just fat percentage, everything else is exactly the same. So why does it happen? So, and this isn't saying fat's bad, right? You need fat because the fat enables energy to go in and out of our, like, so fat is energy, right? It's like stored energy. So we kind of touched on a little bit of food last week, but when we eat food, and the technical term for the kind of food molecules is food stuff. Your body takes the food stuff and it breaks it down into the vitamins and minerals, and then it also kind of like uses that stuff to create proteins. It enables your body to function. So what happens when we get cortisol in our system? It stops our body taking energy out of our fat stores and instead triggers glucose production, which increases fat storage as well. Okay, so when you are overweight and stressed out, it's very difficult for you to lose the fat because your body's actually in fat storage mode. Because you're in like survival mode and your body thinks you're going to need this for a long time, right? So every time you're eating something, you're just turning it into, like, you're just storing it. It depends what food you're eating, right, as well. But if it's storing it because it thinks you need it. However, when you've not got loads of cortisol in the system, it's using the fat, unless you're eating loads of carbohydrates, and then it'll use the carbohydrates because that's like easy energy. So this is why when you reduce carbs, you drop fat really quickly, is because your body's forced to use the actual natural energy source and the healthy energy source. This is why fat's not bad for you. Fat's really good for you. So when there's too much adrenaline, which I said is triggered first by the stress response, our fat cells become less responses to stimulation by the adrenal glands to release fat. So longer we say stress, the more intensely we create and store fat, right? So if you are overweight and you are stressed out, even if you're just stressed out about your weight, is you are going to not only just stay overweight, is you're going to get like more overweight. Because your body's now in the fat creation and storage cycle. And this is over time leads to insulin resistance. And so your body compensates by creating even more insulin, right? So your body is producing insulin to break down your sugars, and then your bodies can't use it, so your body produces even more, and this is why you end up with type 2 diabetes, but also cardiovascular disease, increased inflammation, and other kind of chronic diseases. And it's really interesting because if you're underweight and you're stressed out, you struggle to gain weight. And if you're overweight when you're stressed out, you struggle to lose it, which is just, kind of interesting little tidbit there. But so your weight, so people need to stop getting on scales and looking at weight in numbers and instead start looking at body fat percentage. So nowadays you can get some really cool scales, right? You literally just stand on them and they tell you your body fat percentage. Oh, I was going to grab my phone and show you, but it's on my other phone. So my scales literally tell you visceral fat, all the other types of fat, and it tells, it's like, mine's quite good, thankfully. But so it's my bone, my skeletal muscle around my bone, my skeletal muscles is quite low, but that's fine. So it's going to tell you all the different types of fat, and different types of fat is worse for you and better than you, because you can have really skinny people who actually have like lots of fat around their organs, and that's bad as well. So you can get on scales and they can tell you what your fat percentage is, because that's what you need to start looking at, not your weight. And this whole concept of big bones, I always thought was hilarious, because if you ever watch any of those archaeological programs, and there used to be fat people back in the day, but when you dig everybody up, the bones are the same. right? And there was a study done the other day. I say the other day, it was probably a couple of years ago when I read it. But there is no such thing as big bones, right? Everybody has the same bones. You just carry more fat or not. But this is how much the fat percentages dictate how unwell you are. So research suggests that an excess of just 10 kilograms of body fat increases the risk of developing depression by 17%. And the more fat we carry, the greater the risk of developing depression. Right. So, and this is the other thing, and this is why, like, that you can't, if you're a man, you can't be a woman. If you're a woman, you can't be a man, right? And this is not just talking about chromosomes. This is talking about actual entire body. It is designed to function differently, right? So yes, the hormones are key, but your entire body is built differently and designed to function differently, and not just what's between your legs. So for women, the essential fat is 10 to 13%, and men is 2 to 5%. Athletes is 14 to 20% women. Sorry, not 14 to 20% of women are athletes, but their fat percentage. If you've got a 14 to 20% fat percentage, then you are an athlete. And with men, if you've got 6 to 13%, then you are more likely in the athletic category. And when I was younger, I had a really tiny, and it was an 11% fat. I mean, I was very, very thin. And I used to eat like a freaking horse, but was just very, very active, and had lots of kind of physical complications as well. But looking at that, and I know I was 11% fat because you had the calipers. That's what we used to get. So unhealthy. So if you're just happy, healthy, and fit, then and female, 21 to 24% fat. If you're a happy, healthy male, 14 to 17% fat. And you've got acceptable, right? So acceptable, but you probably moving in the wrong direction. For women, anywhere between 15 and 31%. That's supposed to be 25 to 31, because otherwise that doesn't make sense. My apologies. Here we go. So acceptable is 25 to 31%, and then male is 18 to 24% acceptable. And then anything over 32% body fat for women is obese, and anything over 25% fat for men is obese. So there's quite huge differences in the optimum level of percentage fat for males and females. And remember, just 10 kilograms extra body fat increases the risk of depression by 17%. And then it just keeps going up and up and up and up. So the other thing you can do is, by checking, if you don't have some fancy scales, is you can just check your waist size. So if you're female and your waist is over 35 inches, or male over 40 inches, then you have an increased risk of developing obesity-related health conditions. So even if the only thing you have is even let's go like bare bones, you don't even have a Tate measure. If you've got a bit of wool or a string or a ribbon, you can just wrap that around your waist and use a ruler, right? So if your waist is over 35 inches in your female, or is over 40 inches in your male, then you need to do something to reduce your fat content. So by tracking fat, muscle, and water, you have a better understanding of your overall physical health. And this is because, again, women and men have different water ratios, right? So women have more fat. They have a different water ratio to men. And so it's really important that when you're kind of doing something... Sorry, I thought my tortoise... He's so naughty. He was trying to escape. There's a log, and he keeps trying to climb up the log and get at... I don't want him to fall on his back. My apologies. So I heard him scratching. I was like, that little shit. Little shit's trying to escape again. Okay, so when you're trying to become healthy, don't just track your weight, right? Because this is the other thing, is you will end up what I always call plateauing. And you're not actually plateauing, it's just you're shifting in your muscle fat structure, right, and ratio. And so the weight on the scales might be the same, but what's going on inside your body is not the same. So when you start getting healthy, 3 different things could occur. So you could lose fat without gaining muscle. You could gain muscle but not lose fat, or you could gain muscle and lose fat. And obviously gaining muscle and losing fat is the best one, right? Because that means you're going to be healthier. And there's does a kilogram of fat weigh the same as a kilogram of muscle? Of course it does, because they're both a kilo, right? So that's the short answer. Yes, a kilogram of fat and a kilogram of muscle weigh the same, because they're both a kilo. However, you need less muscle to less physical muscle to actually have a kilogram compared to physical mass of fat. So this is what I'm saying. If you were standing on a scale and you're like, well, I'm still like whatever stone I was yesterday, or still the same amount of stones I was 3 months ago, you might actually be half the physical size because you're now muscle rather than fat. And it will change quite rapidly. But just scales are depressing. Right? Scales are depressing because they never, when it's just a normal scale. And even on my scales, I just ignore the numbers and pay attention to the fat percentage and water percentage. The other thing is you will be able to probably just fit in clothes a lot easier. Like you'll notice your shape, you will notice your physical shape changing before you notice the scales changing. Okay, but the most important thing to understand about the muscle to fat ratio is the direct impact it has on our ability to feel good. So when our bodies are full of fat, we have high levels of cortisol in our bloodstream. This not only puts pressure on our organs, but also increases the work our body needs to do to reduce and remove excess cortisol from our bloodstream. High cortisol levels also negatively affect the body's capacity to metabolize carbohydrates and proteins. So going back to what we were talking about last week with regards to food, so you may even be eating good protein. So this is like not plant shit, but like meat, right? So you might be consuming good proteins, and hopefully you've all started eating eggs. You might be having like all of your eggs a day, right? If you are overweight, I have high fat percentage, your body's capacity to metabolize the proteins, and the proteins are the building blocks of our DNA, is less, right? So not only are you putting pressure on your body, you're making it very difficult for your body to get out of the fight and flight and freeze system where it's on high alert and not in your immune state. Not only is that happening, any of the food you're consuming is you're not actually accessing the same level of vitamin and minerals and protein content as somebody who has less fat percentage. So you need to have, if you've got higher fat percentage, you need to be even more careful about what you're eating, and more prolific about your vitamins and minerals and protein levels. You will probably need more protein, because if I'm having 30 grams of protein, I have a what did I say it was called? Adequate. I have an adequate amount of oh no, wait a minute. I was on the other fitness. I'm not acceptable. I'm on the fitness ratio. It's quite nice. I have good levels of fat in my body. So my 30 grams of protein will be being consumed. You may have high levels of fat, and your 30 grams of protein may only be like 15 grams of protein. Now, I haven't got any actual numbers on that, but they know that it stops your body being able to metabolize carbohydrates and proteins. So if you're feeling tired all the time because you're overweight, it's not because you're depressed, it's because you're overweight. And it's not just because you're looking in the mirror and you're upset because you're overweight, it's because your body quite literally can't function, right? So this is and this whole concept of stop fat shaming, this is not about fat shaming, this is about stop abusing your body and wanting me to celebrate it, right? The same as if somebody was self-harming in another way by cutting themselves, I wouldn't celebrate that. If you are abusing your body through food and a lack of movement, I'm not celebrating that. Same as I'm not celebrating the fact that you believe you can be a different gender. I'm not celebrating that. That's unscientific, right? I'm dealing in scientific facts. That's a scientific impossibility, right? I could dye my hair brown or black or a radical color. It doesn't make me a black-haired person, right? If you are overweight, you are killing yourself. I mean, you have a right to do so, but just if you want to be happy and healthy, like, this is what you need to do. And you've also got, the other thing that was important there is it negatively affects the body's capacity to metabolize carbohydrates. So if you are consuming carbohydrates, then you will be storing far more carbohydrates than you're processing. Right? So you're going to create far more fat because carbohydrates are just fast energy. And what does your body do with the energy? It stores it. Right? So if I ate a large Domino's pizza, which I did over the weekend, which I am not having again ever, and not because it was just Domino's, but because my body did not thank me for it. Right? My body told me in no uncertain terms, don't ever fucking do that thing again. Right? And if you are eating Domino's pizza, and I ate it in 2 days, right? I didn't eat it all in one go. I had half and then half. And back in the day, I would have eaten like an entire Domino's pizza, like in a flash, right? Easily. And I wasn't necessarily like a lot larger, but just my tolerance for consuming unnecessary carbohydrates was a lot higher. But I ate the pizza, my body was able to metabolize those carbohydrates, which is why not very long after eating it, I really wasn't very well. My body was going, for fuck's sake, hey, why do you keep doing this shit to us? And that was just one pizza, right? Compared to even when I was a higher fat percentage, my body wasn't metabolizing it, and it was probably easy for me to be putting pound on pound on pound on pound on, right? So people who have higher fat percentages are usually consuming way more carbohydrates than they need because they are not hyperactive, right? I need minimal carbohydrates nowadays because I don't do very much active stuff. Like, I talk a lot, right? But talking isn't like much movement. So if you are just sat on your ass watching TV all day, you definitely don't need shitloads of carbohydrates because it's energy, right? So the other thing, most people realize that when we move our bodies, we're able to utilize the energy from the food we've eaten and release the fat that we stored up. However, what's less commonly known is that exercise triggers the release of tryptophan. And we mentioned tryptophan last week, thereby increasing the amount of serotonin available to our bodies and brains, right? So this is really important. Yes, we spoke last week about the chemical properties of food that you need in order to feel good, right? So, so tryptophan is the base tryptamine is the tryptophan amino acid is like the base protein of serotonin. So serotonin is 5-hydroxytryptamine, which is 5 hydrogen atoms, an oxygen atom, and it's got a tryptophan, so tryptamine base, right, which is made from tryptophan. Tryptophan, yes, great in chicken and dairy, right? The easiest places to get it from. But your body's like taking that, it's going, oh yeah, go give me some tryptophan, and it's taking it and it's storing it, right? And it doesn't release it until you exercise. So unless you're exercising, your body's not creating serotonin en masse. Right, and this is so we're just dealing in scientific facts, right? This is as oh my gosh, my back. So we're dealing in scientific facts. Unless you are consuming tryptophan foods, you don't have the base chemicals. I mean, you've always got oxygen and hydrogen in your body. In varying degrees, depending on how much fat you have, it depends on how much oxygen you have in your bloodstream. So it's easier for my body to create serotonin, one, because I'm eating tryptophan foods, but also I've got a lower fat percentage, therefore have a higher oxygen percentage in my bloodstream, right? I don't know about hydrogen. I don't know whether that's affected by fat. Maybe there's been a study into it, but it's never occurred to me until just now. However, it's not until you start moving is your body going to start releasing the tryptophan, right? So it's going to allow your body to then create the serotonin, because you need both things. You need food in your gut, because when you put food in your gut, your specific gut microbes will say, yo, this food, let's release the serotonin. And then your body goes, this person's not moved for 3 years. There is no tryptophan being released. So no serotonin for this person, right? Because 90% of it's done in your gut, only 10% is done in your brain. So just 60 minutes of moderate exercise has been shown to significantly increase the tryptophan levels in our brains, both during the exercise and during the recovery period, right? This is why you don't need antidepressants. Like, you just need to get off your fucking ass and move. Or eat the right food and move. And this is why my clients go from suicidal to feeling awesome in 4 weeks, right? There's no miracles. Is I just force them to do the things that their body needs them to do to produce the serotonin, because the serotonin is the thing that makes you feel good, right? And if you've got serotonin in your system, then your cortisol is turned off, then your brain starts working again, you have the energy, you feel awesome. Then you're well equipped to actually deal with the trauma that you've experienced, right? Nobody should be trying to heal trauma when they're unwell, right? You should feel good first. You have to feel good first. And obviously you have to have the tools and the techniques to actually do it. But this is where most, I say most, so where like 99% of mental health professionals go wrong, is like somebody who's like really unwell will rock up on the doorstep and the first thing they want to know is like, okay, so what's your most, let's talk about your trauma, right? Let's dig into your trauma. Let's re-traumatize you. And then the buzzer goes off and I'll see you next week. Yeah. Are you surprised everyone's still fucking ill? No. So what do? Is I teach you how to be happy and healthy, get your biology sorted, get your body producing the hormones that it needs for you to feel good. And then when you're mentally ready, and it's not just like, not brain wiring ready, I mean like actually the serotonin in your brain, right? Brain serotonin's up, body serotonin's up, you're able to actually focus, function, have a conversation. And rather than trying to have a conversation with you when you're down here, we have a conversation when you're up here, because our conversation together is going to bring you back down here, right? So if you're here, you're going to be on the fucking floor, right? People are it mind-boggling, the fact that people don't even consider this when they call themselves a mental health professional, right? Now, here's the other little sneaky thing. So by ensuring you eat after exercise, you give your body the opportunity to utilize the newly released tryptophan. So you always want to do your exercise, and you always want to do it like first thing in the morning. Like you do it first thing in the morning, then you eat. Right? If you want to do things fast, right? I do not believe in slow and steady when it comes to healing. I believe in diving in and going as fast as you fucking can, as hard as you can, come up for air, and then build like the slow and steady pace, right? Because if you feel like shit and you keep feeling like shit for 12 weeks, you ain't going to stick to it. You need to feel good now. This is how you feel good now. So get up in the morning, get out of bed, 7 minutes a hit, right? 7 minutes is fine. 7 minutes is fine. Do it before you brush your teeth. Literally roll out of bed in your pajamas, in your pants, whatever it is, light on, freak out your partner, jump up and down for 7 minutes, go and brush your teeth, eat some food, have a tea, have a coffee, have whatever it is you're having. Body will feckin' thank you for it. Like, genuinely thank you for it. And FYI, I usually do mine like in the dark, right? Because so I don't wake my up. So I get up and I have like my app on like low, and I say like so I don't wake him up. Depends whether it's a yoga day or a hit day, because like, and I started doing like this dancing version. I mean, he I think he wakes up for the comedy value, but sometimes he sleeps through it. But yeah, so he wakes up for the comedy value, but sometimes he sleeps through it. So I do. That's what I do. I get out of bed. I mean, I usually pee first. And then I will kind of like sneak back into the bedroom, and at the end of the bed, I will have my phone on, because I got an app on my phone, and put my phone on by the telly, and I will just jump around like a tit in the darkness. And then I go downstairs and I have something to eat, because that's important, right? But actually I don't. I go downstairs and then I have to walk the dogs, and then I come back and eat. So like for me, walking the dogs is like, I don't do a cool down, because I go and then walk the dogs, right? So if you're not walking the dogs, cool down, but do not bother doing a warm up, right? And the reason why, I'll tell you in a minute, but do not bother doing a warm up. If you were out, like just anywhere, right? And something shitty was chasing you, nobody turns around and says, give me 5 minutes while I just stretch my muscles. I've just got to, I was going to do this. Just give me 5 minutes before you try and eat me, lion. Or, give me 5 minutes before you try and rape me. It's not how our body works. Our body's designed to just fucking go and use all of that fat, right? This is why you've got the fat. Your body's designed to go instantly. However, you may then want to like kind of stretch and put it kind of back into a non-go mode after you've finished. I will just take the dogs for a walk. So feel free like to not bother cooling down, and stretching and all that shit, and just go for a 5-minute walk around the block, right? But I do like intensive exercise one day, yoga the other day. But the reason why I do yoga is because I've got spinal and hip issues, right? If I didn't have spine and hip issues, I probably wouldn't do yoga as religiously, because I'm lazy. I mean, I'm honest. But I mean, it's good. I'm not unhealthy, right? So the difference is I'm no longer unhealthy. So when I was unhappy, then, yoga is really important, because it's a really good way to release, slow release of all the shit that's going on in your mind. And anytime I was on the yoga mat, I was too busy concentrating on not falling over, that it was a great way to just stop my brain being full of shit, right? Okay, so anyway, by ensuring you eat after exercise, you're giving your body the opportunity to utilize the newly released tryptophan, thereby significantly increasing the amount of serotonin in your system. So what you eat after exercise matters. So if you consume a low carb and high protein meal after a workout, you'll experience a cortisol spike of up to 50%, forcing your body to burn fat and build muscle. If you consume a high carb and high protein meal after your workout, you give your body rapid energy. Your cortisol doesn't spike, but your body builds muscle, but it doesn't burn fat, right? So if you're trying to reduce your fat percentage, it's really important that the thing that you have after exercise is something that is lean protein, right? Low carb, high protein. If, however, you are trying to if you've already kind of hit your peak fat percentage, then you absolutely can have a carb and protein food, right? Because you can metabolize the carbs, and you may want to replenish your energy really quickly because you don't have the fat stores. So depending on where you fell on that kind of the fat percentage scales that I went through will dictate whether you are having low carb, high protein, or high carb, high protein afterwards. So it depends on you, right? And I would say for women, I would always suggest it's low carb, high protein, because we have higher fat percentages, right? And it's easier for us to store fat because our body's designed to store fat, because we're designed to give birth. and in order to make sure that you don't starve to death, you will then be able to store more fat, right? So this is why you can't just wake up one morning and decide that you're a woman when you're a man. Like, your body's quite literally built differently. So the other thing to remember is that the kind of cortisol spike. So you naturally have a cortisol spike within the first half an hour of waking up. And this is why I recommend like doing the exercise first, right? Because you're going to get like double boost. However, the negative effect of the cortisol spike, right? So it makes your brain addled, makes you more on high alert. All of that's going to happen anyway. So you might as well kind of do it all at once, rather than kind of, you know, have your initial brain fog and all of that bullshit that happens first thing in the morning. And then, you know, you kind of go to the gym and then it happens all over again, right? I mean, unless you've got like lots of fat to burn, then do it twice. I mean, potentially. Nobody's looked into it. You'll have to do it and tell me. Maybe you and two larger people can test it out and then tell me what happened, whether one of you lost fat quite quicker. So a recent research study showed a significant deterioration in memory and learning ability after an intensive resistance workout, which can last a few hours. Comparatively, aerobic exercise doesn't elevate cortisol levels to the same extent. However, there is still a negative impact on memory and learning in the short term. However, so back to the initial kind of premise is turning your body into an antidepressant machine in 12 minutes a week, right? So the way that you do that is through resistance training, and specific type of resistance training where you're using your fast twitch, non-aerobic muscles. So we've got 4 different types of muscle fibers, and there's only one which is fast glycolic or fast fatigable, or they're also known as IIBs, or they're the 4th fiber type, right? So they're the ones that you use when you are being hunted by lions, right? They're the ones that just kind of like go, right? So they are fast twitch, which means they kind of like twitch fast, right? I'm sorry, there's no other way to kind of describe it. But then because they just burn out really quickly, so they're terrible for running marathons, but they are great for getting you out of the way. But the best thing is they use glycogen rather than oxygen for fuel, so you're not going to be depleting your oxygen stores, which is awesome, remember, because serotonin is hydrogen and oxygen and tryptophan. So I mean, it'd be completely useless if you're like releasing all of this tryptophan and then we got no oxygen. I mean, you'd be dead if you had no oxygen, but you know what I mean? No extra oxygen. So basically those fibers your body just never wants to use, right? Because it's just like, I'm saving these for you. It's kind of like, so if you ever have like one of those like beautiful like dinner services, right? Everybody has like an amazing dinner service that they save for Christmas and special occasions, right? Those are your fast twitch muscles. They're the special occasion muscles that your body will not use unless it absolutely fucking has to. The way that your body uses your muscles is it kind of uses like level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4, but you will kind of go through them, right? So you exhaust one and it goes back up, and usually you then go back down again, because the slower twitch, they're kind of really quick to recover. This is why you can maybe like walk for like 3 hours, sit down for 5 minutes, and then go again for like more hours. But as the intensity of the activity increases, then the next type of kind of fiber is engaged. So what you need to do is you need to do resistance training. And you will only be able to do it for 12 minutes a week, because you will completely fuck your special occasion muscles. I think I'm going to call them those instead of fast, whatever it's called. I can't remember the name ever. So, because it's just stupid naming. So your special occasion muscles, you need to use those once a week. And the reason why you can only do it once a week is because they will be completely like obliterated, and you need them to repair and recover. And this is what's so amazing about resistance training, is that you are burning fat while you're doing it, but actually you're burning fat during the recovery phase. So this is why these are even more awesome, because they take such a long time to recover. You are still burning fat days after you did it, right? So HIIT training is really good, and that's high intensity interval training is really good, because you burn muscle then and also for the next maybe 24 hours or so, but usually you're using your kind of like your weekend dinner service, right? It's not the special occasion one, but it's not the one you use all the time. But they recover quite quickly. So usually by the next day, you can do some more HIIT training and be okay. I still recommend doing it every other day, though. So if you're going to do high intensity training, you want to do like HIIT training one day, and then you want to do something with like flexibility. So this is where yoga, Pilates, bear, something that's going to enable you to just remain flexible, so that your muscles are actually recover better, right, and stay healthier. But with regards to your special occasion muscles, the idea is that you find whatever resistance is perfect for you. You should be able to do 12 reps, but unable to do a 13th of whatever muscle it is you are training, right, or dealing with. If you can do 13, then your resistance wasn't high enough. You need to just leave it for a week, come back next week and add on, I don't know, the next level of weight up, right? And so you can go to a gym, you can use a dumbbell, you can use resistance bands, but whatever you use, if you can do more than 13, you're not engaging your special occasion muscles. If you're getting to a place where you are like struggling through 12, and genuinely, if you tried to do the 13th, you would probably snap your arms or your legs would fall off, or then you're using the right muscles. Okay. So you wouldn't want to be doing any other strength training, because you need them to recover, and you just come back next week. And the reason why I say 12 minutes a day is because there are 5 different resistance trainings you can do, which actually utilizes all of the key muscles, and it enables you to get like a great physique too. So if you're interested in the muscle groups, check out the book Body by Science, and that's 30 years worth of research that goes into all of the fibers more. And they look at it just from a pure bodybuilding perspective, right? But actually I look at it from 100% a mental health perspective. But the book was fantastic to really help me understand the power of strength training. So that's a cool book. So if you want more cool stuff like this, more videos, more information, or you don't want to have to go buy books, read books, do all of that stuff, and you just want information, and you just want somebody to go do this, like this is what's wrong, do this thing, go do this thing, then come and join my Happiness Hacks Lab. So it literally is live today, right? And the reason why it's live today is because I didn't want it to be live tomorrow, because tomorrow's April Fool's Day. And I said I was going to make sure it was done by March, because March is my 10th anniversary of being in business. So I've officially done 10 years as a psychologist working with people who are really, really unwell. And so I wanted to make sure my 10-year anniversary was launching the Happiness Hacks Lab. And it's been kind of bumbling in the background. So there's a few people in there already, getting the help that they need. And I was like, shit, I need to make sure it's done today, because today's the last day in March. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in at the end and let you in on my little 10-year anniversary treat. And tomorrow I'm going to still do the proper launch on April Fool's Day. But it'll only be like a second launch because I've already done it. So you guys are officially the first. This is how Unorganized. No, not unorganized. Like, I've been working very fucking hard all day. But I was committed to you guys at 7 o'clock to do this show. And so we've done the show. So if you're interested, come on and have a look at happinesshackslab.com. I think you'll love it over there. You'll learn more of what we've just been talking about. So it's about helping you be happy and healthy. And not quite so wayward. I actually have very controlled videos with worksheets and cheat sheets and techniques and all of those other things for you. So my 10 years worth of mental health knowledge, understanding, training, working with people, plus all of the knowledge and understanding I got from university, plus all of the personal experience of my trauma and overcoming my trauma with zero therapy, not ever speaking to another mental health professional, and zero antidepressants, no diagnosis. But if you're going to try and kill yourself, you are definitely unwell, right? So that's where I was. This is where I am right now. And trust me, you can't fake this happy. You either are or you're not. Anyway, so I need to now go and do some food shopping that I was supposed to do hours ago. And so I need to go food shopping. So I have got to go. Thank you so much. And these are only supposed to be an hour. So my apologies for keeping you. Have yourselves an amazing Monday. I shall see you next week for some more madness and